Charge $29.99 ad. A short story, Life on Callisto. Introduction. Callisto is the outermost of Jupiter's 4 large moons and the second largest in the solar system after Ganymede. This icy, crater-scarred moon has a barren, icy surface dotted with impact craters and vast plains of rock-hard water ice. With a diameter of around 800 kilometers, Callisto is only slightly smaller than Mercury. But unlike the scorching inner planet, Callisto's surface temperature averages about 170 C, cold enough to freeze carbon dioxide. Callisto has only a thin atmosphere composed of carbon dioxide. The ancient surface of Callisto is one of the most heavily cratered in the solar system due to a lack of geological activity. Billions of years of impacts have left craters up to multi-kilometers wide covering its icy crust. The Valhalla Basin is the largest impact crater on Callisto, with bright rings spreading out for thousands of kilometers. Callisto experiences very minimal tidal heating and surface changes, leaving its scarred icy surface largely unchanged over billions of years. This makes it a kind of frozen snapshot into the early bombardment period of our solar system's history. Overall, Callisto is a cold, icy desert of a moon with impact craters blanketing its inactive surface. But under its frozen exterior may lie a subsurface ocean, one which could possibly harbor life. And if it didn't harbor life, it was mankind's own creative will that would make something of the moon's habitat. Callisto's frigid surface temperatures of 170 C make survival extremely challenging for its colonists. But specially designed thermodynamic radiation suits allow them to withstand the bitter cold as they work to harness Jupiter's energy. The suits are equipped with insulation layers interwoven with microscopic capacitors that can store and release heat. Tiny radiation collectors absorb infrared energy radiating from warm bodies or other sources. This harvested heat is channeled into the capacitors, creating a self-contained system capable of maintaining temperatures comparable to a warm summer day. Small power units connected to Callisto's energy grid allow the suit's capacitors to recharge and redistribute heat as needed. Strategic heating elements located in the hands, feet, and face region help redirect warmth to extremities. Responsive temperature sensors feed data to the suit's AI regulator, keeping its occupant comfortably heated. With these thermodynamic radiation suits, Callisto's residents can work long hours on the icy surface without risk of hypothermia or frostbite. The suits allow exploration and infrastructure work that would otherwise be impossible in the moon's cruel temperatures. Though heading outside still requires caution, the suits provide a lifeline, capturing and recycling precious energy to protect vulnerable human life. For those daring to tap Jupiter's power, they are an indispensable shield against Callisto's unforgiving cold. Scene 1. Mira Velasquez strode confidently through the gleaming corridors of VET's lunar headquarters. As CEO of the company leading humanity's efforts to harvest energy from Jupiter's radiation belt, she felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. VET's ion collectors orbiting within the gas giant's most intense radiation zones absorbed incredible amounts of energy from the charged particles trapped in Jupiter's magnetic field. This energy was collected, stored, and then transported to Callisto via a network of energy-gathering ships. Some of the energy was beamed directly from technology called ion beamers. From her headquarters, Mira oversaw the colony's operations to store and convert the ionized radiation into usable power. Insulated pipelines crisscrossed Callisto's icy surface, feeding energy to domed cities glowing under the looming Jupiter. It was a far cry from the barren moon that greeted the first colonists decades ago. Now it thrived with life and industry. Mira entered the control room, glancing up at projection screens tracking ion collection, conversion, and transmission across VET's sprawling infrastructure. She smiled, proud of the progress her teams had achieved harnessing Jupiter's intense radiation. But there was still much work to do. Alvaro, show me the latest data from our orbital ion absorbers, Mira said, approaching her head engineer. The screens displayed streams of figures and reactor schematics. Energy absorption is strong, but converting the ion radiation remains difficult, Alvaro responded. Mira nodded. Then we'll deploy the new shielded transmitters and negative ion generators. There was always another challenge at VET, but Mira thrived on it. She gazed out the window at Jupiter, brimming with radiation energy waiting to be harnessed. The key was learning how to safely unlock it for humanity, and Mira would stop at nothing to accomplish that. Scene 2. After reviewing the latest data, Mira headed down to the production floors. The cavernous facilities hummed with activity as mole bots rolled off assembly lines by the dozen. Teams of engineers conducted final checks and calibrations on the robots before sending them into subsurface tunnels. Mira stopped to examine one of the mole bots up close. The sturdy, cylindrical machine could tunnel for miles through solid rock and ice, laying energy transfer cables and sensor equipment as it went. They were prone to breakdowns in Jupiter's intense radiation fields, though. Increase shielding on the next batches, Mira told the lead engineer, and make sure the plasma cutters are calibrated precisely. We can't afford tunnel collapses. Will do, Ms. Velasquez, the engineer replied. We'll start production on the upgraded models immediately. Satisfied, Mira moved further down the complex. A deep bass hum grew louder as she entered the generator chamber. Massive machines converted raw absorbed radiation into usable current. But demand was rising faster than generation. Mira rode an elevator down to the cavern floor for a closer inspection. Her hair stood on end from the incredible energies pulsing through the machinery. They would need to expand soon. As Mira examined the control panels, an alarm sounded. Radiation spike. An operator called out. Energy absorption arrays are overloaded. Mira sprang into action, dispatching emergency response crews. She watched tensely as they stabilized the fluctuating radiation levels. It was a crucial reminder, when working with Jupiter, they were constantly pushing the limits. But the rewards were worth the risk. Mira paced tensely as the emergency crews worked to stabilize the radiation spike. Alarms continued blaring while engineers scrambled to prevent a complete system overload. Divert all non-essential power to the absorption arrays, Mira ordered. And get me a status update now. The chief engineer rushed over, his face grim. Radiation levels are still rising in quadrants 4 and 6, he reported. If we can't bleed off the excess energy soon, we risk a cascade failure. Mira's mind raced. A failure of that magnitude could shut down Jupiter operations for months. Spin up all the reserve generators, she commanded. We'll channel the overcapacity straight to the lunar surface grids. Within minutes, power surged through cables snaking across Callisto's icy landscape. Domed cities glowed brightly, using the sudden energy influx for heat and light. After an agonizing hour, the emergency crews finally reported radiation levels decreasing to normal parameters. Mira let out a relieved breath. Once again, Callisto had averted disaster by the narrowest of margins. The near miss only strengthened Mira's resolve. They needed to expand energy storage and conversion capabilities quickly before the next spike. Jupiter's ravenous radiation could provide limitless power if properly harnessed. Mira would make sure Vet met that awesome challenge head-on. With the crisis past, Mira started planning their next steps. There was no time to waste. Humanity was depending on Callisto and Vet to unlock Jupiter's radiant potential. Callisto thrived under Jupiter's radiance, but needed to push further. And with Mira leading the way, nothing would stop humanity from claiming the vast energy treasures of the giant planet. Scene 3. The Molebot's plasma drills whirred to life as it began tunneling into Callisto's icy crust. Mira watched through the view screen as the machine bored through the frozen ground, sensors guiding it along the planned route. Around the hurtling Molebot, shards of ice flashed into steam, hissing against its heat-shielded exterior. Drilling rate is optimal, reported the Molebot's operator. We'll reach the target depth in less than 2 hours. Mira tracked the small blip on the subsurface map as the machine tunneled ever deeper. Vet's newest remote-operated borebots were designed to construct a power conduit network through solid ice. Their plasma melters and diamond-tipped drills made short work of even Callisto's incredibly hard water ice. A proximity warning flashed. Obstacle detected ahead, the operator warned. Scanner feeds showed a dense cluster of metallic rocks blocking the Molebot's path. Carefully, the operator slowed the drills and activated side jets to maneuver it around the obstruction. Nicely done, said Mira as the Molebot slipped past the blockade with ease. Its AI could handle most issues autonomously, but human oversight was essential in case of problems. The robots were speeding ahead of schedule. Soon this conduit would connect Callisto's surface cities to its underground energon reservoirs. Mira smiled, knowing that each tunnel brought them one step closer to truly harnessing Jupiter's might. The machine burrowed relentlessly through the dark ice, an avatar of humanity's inexorable progress. Its destination, a future powered by the mammoth planet looming above. Scene 4. The Molebot's sensors detected a hollow cavity ahead, a subterranean sea lurking beneath Callisto's icy crust. Slow your approach, Mira instructed the operator. We don't want to rupture the ceiling. Cautiously, they maneuvered the mole bot into the cave-like chamber. Its spotlights illuminated an alien underwater world. Jagged stalactites of ice hung from the cavern ceiling, refracting the light into rippling bands across dark water. Incredible, we've confirmed a subsurface ocean, the operator said, beginning scans for life forms. Suddenly, a tremendous shape stirred in the depths. A creature over 20 meters long, with massive crab-like claws and a spiked, armored shell on its back. What in Jupiter's name? The operator yelled as the beast surged towards them, mouth gaping to reveal spiraling teeth. They barely reversed the mole bot out of range as the creature snapped its claws furiously. Alarms blared across Vet's network. Mira rushed to the control room where her head engineer Pablo was already giving orders. "Seal off that tunnel section," Pablo commanded, bringing up video of the creature's attack. "If it breaches the surface." He didn't need to elaborate. They all knew the havoc even one of those beasts could wreak on Callisto's domed cities. Mira and Pablo shared a tense but resolute look. Their amazing discovery would have to wait. First, they had a monster to contain. Scene 5. Emergency bulkhead slammed down, sealing the creature back in the subsurface sea. Mira breathed a tense sigh of relief, but they weren't out of danger yet. "That monster could still break through if it finds another route to the surface," Pablo said. "We need to reinforce all connected tunnels." Mira nodded. "Get all available mole bots to start laying internal shielding and cave-in traps around the perimeter." For hours, they anxiously monitored the situation, ready to trigger cave-ins to block any escaping creatures. But it seemed their containment had worked for now. Still, this discovery threatened all of Vet's subsurface operations. "We need a new power transmission plan, one that avoids those caverns completely." Mira presumed she knew what she was going to do, displaying a holographic map of Callisto's deep tunnels. She highlighted various paths, planning how to circumvent the treacherous seas. It would be a massive undertaking, with risks of its own. But seeing the bizarre creature attack brought home the realities of their alien environment. They were intruders here, and Callisto's dangers were still unknown. "If we need to take the fight to them," Pablo finally said, "we will deploy hazard teams to the infested zones and they will exterminate any hostiles they encounter. Wiping them out from our zone here will save us plenty of energy. Given a cost-to-benefit analysis is the thing to do." Mira considered Pablo's words carefully. She knew sending teams to confront the creatures directly was risky, but the potential benefits were too promising to ignore. "You make a good point," she replied after a moment. "Wiping out the hostiles at their source would conserve resources compared to endless containment efforts." Pablo nodded, seeming relieved she hadn't dismissed his advice entirely. "We'll equip the teams with resonator cannons attuned to the creature's physiology," he said. "That should disrupt their crystalline armor and internal structure." Mira pulled up a hologram displaying the cave networks around the subterranean sea. She highlighted the areas swarming with creature activity. "Deploy squads here and here to begin sweep operations. They can establish resonator stations to drive the beasts back into the sea." "Yes, ma'am. I'll oversee preparation of the attack plan personally," Pablo responded. He quickly began issuing orders, mobilizing their best hazard squads. Mira watched the organized activity with satisfaction. By carefully leveraging their resources for surgical strikes, Vet would reclaim lost ground, and the destruction of the creatures would free up energy for progress on harnessing Jupiter itself. The rewards were too great to allow any obstacles, no matter how dangerous, to turn them aside. Mira felt confident that together, they would overcome whatever Callisto threw at them. And soon, she knew, Jupiter's power would fuel humanity's expansion across the solar system. Scene 6. Pablo coordinated with Vet's robotics division to ready a flotilla of robotic submersibles. Equipped with plasma cutters, pincers, and scanning equipment, the agile bots were designed for underwater construction and repair. But now Pablo would weaponize them for a new purpose: monstrous pest control. Technicians worked around the clock, outfitting the submersibles with additional armor plating and forged drill bits capable of piercing even the creature's tough natural defenses. Meanwhile, Pablo pored over all available data on the beasts, simulating attack vectors and weaknesses. Within a week, 24 upgraded bots launched into Callisto's underground sea from hidden underwater bays. Propellers pushed them swiftly into the lightless depths as Pablo monitored their descent. Nightmarish, pale forms glided past on the video feeds, the marine horrors they had come to exterminate. One reared up, clawing towards a bot, only to be met with a rotating drill tearing through its thick carapace. Pablo watched coldly as black ichor swirled in the water. Methodically, the submersible bots fanned out, seeking more targets. Their coordinated strikes found weaknesses in the creature's armor, dismembering claws from joints and shredding delicate sensory organs. Pablo observed as the bots remorselessly culled the ravaging beasts. Within a month, not a single creature remained alive in VET's operational zone. Pablo refocused the submersibles back to their original purpose, extracting energon from Callisto's hidden depths. But they now stood vigilant guard beneath the ice, ready to destroy any new threats to VET's great work. For Pablo understood, Jupiter's power must be claimed, no matter the cost. Scene 7. Avi-Rama hurried through VET's gleaming corridors, eager to share his team's latest findings. As head of Callisto's biology department, discovering new life forms was his specialty. But nothing prepared him for what they uncovered in an isolated cave near the planet's North Pole. Avi burst into the executive conference room, interrupting an intense discussion between Mira and Pablo. "You're not going to believe this," he panted, rushing to cue up his department's report. "We've detected multicellular organisms deep underground, unlike anything in the subterranean sea." He brought up magnified images of the cave microbes. Tiny filaments showed complex cellular structure and coordinated movement. "They utilize radiation from underground pockets of thermal leak," Avi explained excitedly. "This is proof of a second evolutionary branch separate from the sea monsters." Mira and Pablo leaned in, astonished. Until now, the savage crustaceans were the only known life on Callisto. But these microbes open new questions about the moon's biodiversity. "Incredible work," Mira said. "What's their potential habitat range?" "Hard to say yet. We'll need to survey more caves," he replied. "But this changes everything we thought we knew about Callisto." Avi pointed at the thermal maps of Callisto's subterranean sea. "We've detected intermittent heat plumes here and here. Small, but they indicate localized hydrothermal vents on the seafloor." He highlighted the areas where their deep diving probes had recorded temperature spikes up to 25 degrees Celsius above the frigid sea ambient. "So the creatures have access to at least minimal heat sources," Mira said, studying the subsurface charts. "That explains how they avoid freezing down there." Avi nodded eagerly. "The vents provide heat oases that allow lower temperature biochemical processes, and we've measured their metabolic rates during dormancy." He pulled up data charts showing just a faint trace of energy usage, barely detectable, so they can operate on a fraction of the energy that Earth life forms require. "Like hibernation, but while still awake and active." "Remarkable," murmured Pablo. "So these adaptations allow them to be mobile and even predatory despite the freezing cold." "Exactly," Avi replied. "It's an evolutionary niche we never could have predicted. Who knows what else may be down there, making the most of scant resources." His mind buzzed with questions as he studied the deep scans, hungry for more insights. What other survival strategies might Callisto's creatures employ? There were more discoveries waiting in those sunless depths and hidden caves. Avi knew revealing those secrets would expand their understanding of life's capabilities. He glanced up at the projections of Jupiter, feeling dwarfed by its swirling enormity. In its shadow, Callisto's life had forged unexpected paths, and they had only begun to shed light on its marvels. Avi's mind raced with implications. What other secrets did Callisto's layers conceal? Creatures uniquely adapted to this harsh world, using its scant resources in unexpected ways. There was so much left to uncover in the icy moon's hidden recesses. Avi knew his teams had only scratched the surface.